Sani Bonani, Dumelang, my name is Garabo Dynamite Nyalungu, the leadership that led the leader to the leading lead. Welcome to this special episode. I said to myself, before I step into my 20s on the 10th of October, let me just share some of the pivotal lessons and crucial lessons that have helped the young person that I was in my teenage years and have formed foundation for the young woman that I want to become from my 20s onwards and beyond, right? So yes, in celebration of my birthday, don't forget that I have given you a 20 rand discount on the sale of my book, that is Purpose and Dominance 1. So from the 1st to the 20th of October, the book will be running for 130 rands. So it's a 20-day deal, 20 rands off in celebration of my 20th birthday. So it's 20. Please note that any orders made before or after those given dates will be charged at a normal price of 150 rands, and deliveries nationwide are still at 60 rands. Yes, 60 rands. Admin stuff out of the way. Also, the bucket hats are available and they are 130 rands, as well as the caps. The Purpose and Dominance caps are also 130 rands. The Purpose and Dominance journal is also there, available at 130 rands as well. Yeah, so moving on into the most important things about this video is, number one thing that I found people to be very struggling with, and I found myself privileged enough to stick to it, although I do encounter some difficulties while sticking to it. But it's something that I saw that, at least with me, I'm not on the extreme end, of it, right? Identity crisis. We have that a lot, and it's something that it has prevailed in myself as a speaker, as a young woman, as a human being, as a black person. It has prevailed so much because we live in a world where we are exposed through social media to other people and what they choose to reveal to us as their realities. So we are not sure if it's exactly how people live. That's their exact picture of their reality, but they say it is, and we see that, we consume it on social media, and it's very easy for that to want to alter how our realities are and how we want people to perceive them, right? So identity is something that I've seen people struggle with, and I said to myself, let me just address it. When you are unique in a world where people have normalized what is standard, you don't easily trend. You don't easily become the it thing. People first laugh at you because we look at people are doing this. You choose to go, on this side. What's happening with you, right? You are very easy to be scrutinized and insulted. And it's like starting a culture. It takes time. And for you as a person to start that culture, you will need a very thick skin. For you to be a person to say, I'm not going to alter myself, I'm going to stay true to this person that I am, you need a very thick skin, because you will be facing temptations, you'll be facing insults, you'll be facing everything that is worse, because people expect you to conform to what society has said to be the norm, right? So when you start a culture, I need you to understand that before you step into altering yourself so much into becoming what the world wants you to be, I need you to understand that there's a certain group of people who have influence but are not influential, right? So these people have the numbers, have the reach, have the subscribers and everything. They've got the influence, they've got, the presence and everything, even on social media, but they are not influential. And this is because we cannot relate to them as day-to-day people, because these people have convinced us so much that our natural selves and our capacities as people cannot get us there where they are. We need some altering, we need some, modification for us to be where they are. They create a barrier in a sense that when I look at them, even if we grew up in the same township, but by the fact that you are now someone whom I can no longer see myself in, I can no longer resonate with you, relate with you. I fail to take whatever that you're saying and apply it in my normal life, So even when you go live, I may be interested in listening to what you have to say. I may understand it at that point, but it's very seldom that I'll take what you say, apply it in my own life, because I find you irrelatable. I cannot relate to you anymore because there's that barrier that you have created by altering yourself to conform to norms that I think if I don't break through this, there's no way I'm going to get to where you are. So when you alter yourself, remember that there's a great chunk of people that you lose your ability to be influential to, and these are people who are from where you were before you altered yourself. These are people who resonated with you. You have the same realities, grew up in the same households even, but because something happened in the process of you altering yourself such that they got so convinced and programmed that myself, naturally, with my own capabilities, naturally, I can't get there. I need supernatural powers. I need that plastic surgery. I need that iPhone, I need whatever, to get to the other side. And they saw that through you. So whatever you say, no matter how influential it is, to them it won't be. Because there's that line of, there's a barrier between the two of you, right? So my advice to people is, I've also been in a situation where I've went back to the people I grew up with, or I've happened to come across, when we bump into each other and everything. And the conversations we had seemed very inaccessible to them, And I was very fortunate to pick it up because often we're like, oh, yeah, you heard me, but... Yes, you heard, but you couldn't listen to what I'm saying. Yes, you heard the sound, but the message you didn't. And this is because you come to me, you ask me about publishing a book, and I tell you about graphic design. I'm dropping big words, which to you are not familiar with. And at that point, I'm not even breaking down what I'm saying so that you understand it in the most basic form. Because it is in that conversation, when you have a conversation with someone who speaks to you in your language, they break the hardest term to you in your language. They respond to you in your language. There's a certain power. It induces a certain level of, I'm able to do this, that kind of energy, because you can see that this person talks my language. If she can do it while talking this language, I can do it, So we are not enemies of progress. We are not saying to you, when you get there, up there, at the top, don't wear your Louis Vuittons, don't wear your weaves, don't use your iPhones. We are not saying that. We are saying to you, for you to keep the influential ability that you have, to your people, have that line of communication where the conversation is accessible. Don't drop bombastic words on people and think they get the message, because you are addressing them from a level of being at the top. This is someone at the bottom. They want to know how to get there at the top. Explain it in the most basic way. The access that they should have to you is that conversation, so make it as accessible as possible so that they get to see themselves in you through you just saying or unpacking what you have to say in their language, a language that they understand. That is how you retain your ability to be influential. That was something I had to work on for the longest of times. That yes, we know you were there. When you get to people, don't address them as if you are addressing people who are there already. They ask you questions because they need information, So break it down in the simplest of terms that they do not have excuses to say, yo, Karabo said this bombastic word. Don't make them have excuses in your conversations. That no, I didn't understand this term and it threw me off and I'm shy. I was shy to tell her that I didn't understand this word. Explain it in the most basic form. That is how you retain influence. Because when you do that, when you make the conversation accessible, whatever difficulties, you firstly, you give them a start. They will start doing what you said they needed to do, and when they encounter difficulties, they'll still have that courage to come back, the confidence to come back and say, I'm encountering A, B, C, D. How did you go about with it? And you are leaving a person in a much better pedestal than where you found them. That is how you retain your influence. That is how you retain your ability to be influential. You were able with that conversation that they found accessible to move them from it being an idea to it being something they want to implement. They're hands-on. They're actively trying to get it to be a reality. So the problem is we alter ourselves so much to conform to what social media has said to be normal, and we lose the ability to be influential to the most important people. The people we grew up with, the people we come from the same townships with, the people whom we should be the bridges between them and where they want to be by shifting the paradigm, by having accessible conversations, by telling them that it's possible, by showing them that it's possible, So yes, come with your weave. You don't have to play it Ben and Betty or play it at one of the salons there. But we are saying to you, once you want to, for you to retain that influential aspect of what you talk about, you need to be accessible. The conversation, make sure it's accessible. Whether you are wearing Louis Vuitton, I won't care. Whether you are wearing Zara, whether you're wearing Louis Vuitton, Fendi, I won't care. I won't look at the label. The fact that I'm able to have an accessible conversation with you, it's enough to induce a willpower in me to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get it done. That is something that I learned. And also, while learning that, I got exposed to this young man. I've been following him for a while, yes, like any other football fan. But it is only now that I got to tap into his mind. I got to engage with him a little. And I was like, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed because there's a quote that he shared. And he says that you've got everything you need to get anything you want. But you've got to work hard. His name is Lebohang Maboe from Mamelodi Sundowns. So he says that you've got everything you need to get anything you want, but you need to work hard. You understand? So yes, the phone may not be an iPhone, but it's still a phone. It has a camera, right? You may not have the ring light, but you've got a torch, right? You may not have some stands that are going to help you shoot the best content, but you've got buckets at home. So as far as needing things, you've got anything you need. You've got everything that you need to make that YouTube content. The camera may be blurred, the camera may not be HD, but you've got a camera at least. So you've got everything you need for that YouTube content, to make that YouTube content, to get what you want, which is to upload your content on social media to spread the word and the information that you were saying. You understand? So yes, you may go into a meeting, be invited to a gala dinner. You may not have that 7,000 to buy that Fendi dress, but you've got that 350. Get into a cheaper store, get yourself something. You wear it, you go there, you represent yourself, So you may not have the luxury of eating at the most expensive restaurants, but you've got that 250. Go there, buy your, tomatoes, vegetables, mix masala, mix it. When you go to people, it doesn't show here, it doesn't write that you ate pap and salt or you ate a Russian and Vienna. It doesn't say that. So as far as needing things, you've got everything you need to get to where you want. Maybe what you need is not of a standard that you would have desired it to be. That is where people think the excuse lies. That is where actually the excuse lies. Because what you have now, what you need and what you have as needs now do not come across with a particular standard or a particular brand attached to it. You tend to want to discredit them. Because it's not an iPhone, it's a Mobicel. Now, you see it as a barrier. You see it as something that is not worth having and everything. But it is exactly what you need. It can, when you press camera there, it rolls, it records you. So you've got what you need to get what you want. You've got everything that you need to get anything that you want, but you need to work hard. Working hard comes along with having to use things. Having to be consistent in using the things that you have at the moment. Working hard comes along with being innovative, creating ways in which you can maximize what you get from the little resources that you have. So that quote came from Lebohang Maboe, and when I heard him say that, when I saw the quote, I was like, wow, brilliant. Like, I don't even care where you get it, who you read it from, but I'm taking this for life. You've got everything you need to get anything you want, but you need to work hard. So that was 8 from Identity Crisis. And number 2, honest conversations. Learn to have honest conversations with yourself. Once you have, I've learned this recently, literally 6 months before turning 20. I learned this, that it is only when you have honest conversations with yourself that you are able to take yourself out of certain situations. You're like, this is not me. This is not for me, because you are now, allowing yourself to be honest with who you are and who you are not, So have honest conversations with yourself, even about your feelings, Your feelings not only in relationship setups, but also your feelings about certain relations with friends, certain relations with family. Are you genuinely happy with this relation? Are you genuinely happy with how this thing is going about as far as the relation between you and this contractor? Are you happy with, analyze those things, have honest conversations, sit yourself down, because now you picking from where I left off, yes. So sometimes you are in situations where you can't even be happy. You are pretending all along. You get frustrated when stepping into certain places with certain people because you are failing to be honest with yourself. You are failing to sit yourself down and say, is this really what you need? And what you are giving up for this, is it worth it? Are you willing to give up ABC for you to participate in this? Is your say, are you heard? Are you content with what's being proposed? Are you happy with how things are? The terms and conditions, did you have a say? Do you fully understand everything? Sometimes we deny ourselves that space to be honest with ourselves, to be vulnerable, because we were taught that being vulnerable is something that you should do in your private space, and you shouldn't be vulnerable to people. You shouldn't show that vulnerability, and as a recommendation, there's a book that I've read that explains how we can lead through vulnerability, and it was written by Brene Brown, and the name of the book is Dare to Lead. I really encourage people to get to read that. It basically shows you how you can lead in that aspect, because that is the one aspect that people don't feel comfortable exposing to the world, but it is when that aspect is exposed to the world that the world can see, oh, you are also a human being, so you are leading this, you also encounter this, I thought you were my leader, I thought you were superwoman, you go through this as well. And that relatability creates a very strong team, because no one is seen as more strong than the other or as an ion. We are all human. I hope I'm not misleading you, but yes, the ability to have honest conversations. Once you have that, it becomes very easy for you to see the spaces that you can avail yourself for, see relationships that you can avail yourself for. There are certain instances where we are approached by people with things that require a certain level of standard, a certain level of knowledge that we may not have at that point. It's very seldom that people become honest and say, I'm incapable of this. I cannot do this at this moment, or I am clueless about this, or I'm not the right person. People would rather push to produce mediocre quality because they've never done this thing before, than to be honest from the get-go and say, actually, I know someone who can do it better. I've never done it before. I was having a conversation with my friend that it is so sad that often when you go and approach people and ask them if they can do something, they're quick to say yes. Yes, maybe the ambition and everything is good, but when it comes to results, we really don't want mediocre. We approach people because we want the best out of them. Everyone who approaches you with their craft or anything that is theirs and they need your services to it, they do so because they think you are the best person to do the job. And if you are not, it's very easy. It's very important that you become very honest with it. It may create an opportunity for you to learn that skill. Then create a bad reputation for your company, saying that you are unable to give the skill, you produce mediocre results, So rather be honest so that you get an opportunity to learn and perfect the skill, than accept the offer and then produce mediocre and then get bad ratings and reviews for your business and stop other 5 customers from coming because they've heard that you couldn't produce this thing, So having honest conversations as far as every aspect of your life is concerned, even in academics, sometimes you get very ambitious and say, this year I want to be in the golden circle at school, in the golden key and everything. But look at yourself, look at your realities, have honest conversations with yourself. Don't beat yourself too much. Yes, we all want to be excellent and achieve great and everything, but we shouldn't turn a blind eye to reality as well and our own capabilities as well. You cannot really expect to move from a 5 to a 95 like that. It happens, yes, but it's not a regular thing. There's hard work that goes into it. There's a lot of things that go into it. So don't beat yourself up from moving to 5 to 60, having aimed for a 90. It's a major improvement. So be honest with yourself in a sense that you look at your capabilities and your realities and understand that we are starting from different positions as well. So before you compare yourself with Sibanyoni, you understand that Sibanyoni, at least before she got to do what I'm doing. She came with a startup. She had a startup capital. She had a startup, whatever, support from family. Some of us have to start things where before we can say, I'm going to chase the world and conquer, we need to break generational curses first in our families. We need to break myths first in our families. We need to break poverty mentality first in our families. And because you are introducing something that is not familiar to the family, you are most likely not to be supported. You are most likely not to be cheered. That moral support, you lack it. But be honest with yourself. Okay, now I'm starting from a point of starting with breaking generational curses, then building up, then plague text, then, other people don't have to deal with that. And sometimes we draw inspiration from people in a sense that we look at the best in their field, because we all want mentorship from the best people. You look at the best in the field, and then you get the information that you need from them. You draw what you need from them, and when you apply it to yourself, and then you realize that it's not at the same rate, or it's not producing the same result as what you saw there, you beat yourself up. You forget that you are still an amateur. You are coming up. You are still in the beginning stages. You are comparing your beginning stages to someone's climax, to someone's peak, and that is often where we lose it. That is often where we want the world to swallow us, because now we feel like we are failures, So be very honest with yourself. Be very patient with yourself, right? So that's one thing that I've learned. The power of having honest conversations. I think that is more liberating than anything, because once you have honest conversations, you have an ability to create opportunities to learn the things that you lack. You have the ability to be comfortable in not knowing things and being willing to knowing things. You are very comfortable to say, I don't know this, can you please teach me, show me how you do it, instead of having pride and claiming you know something, and then when results come, it's average, it's mediocre quality, right? So yeah, that is for me the second part. And the third part, research. I cannot stress on the importance of research in everything that you want to do. Research, whether it's music, whether it's passion, whether it's career, whether it's side hustle, whether it's a hobby, if you want to progress in a certain industry, do your research. I mean, it's very discouraging to have people who say they want to be this in this industry, they want to be a giant in this industry, but they are not informed about the industry. You do not know the current giants, but you want to fill their space in future. How are you going to do that? It is very discouraging to see that you want to be a model, but you do not know the township of your kasi. You do not know who is the current reigning princess of your kasi. Such things you find really easy. Social media has made it very easy for us to network. So get yourself informed, follow the right people, get advices from the right people. Your social media platforms, when you accept your friends' request, when you follow people, make sure it's people who are in line with where you want to be. Make sure it's people you can have a conversation with about where you want to be. Be informed about what's happening, the current state of that industry, the possible future, and the recent past. Get yourself informed. You need to be informed so that when we get to interview you, we don't get just someone who has a cute dream. Here's something about being 20. You move away from being cute. You cannot have an excuse and say, I was a teenager. Now you want to be taken seriously. You want to speak in a boardroom and be taken seriously, and not have people say, you're still cute, you're still a teenager, you don't know what you're talking about. No, we want you to be accurate. You want to be competent, not because you are young, not because you are black, not because you are a woman, but because you've done the work. You're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to put in the work and the effort. So get yourself informed. Read the books, read the articles that are important for that industry. No, be interested, be involved, so that when your time comes, you are at a better place. You've got the right knowledge. You saw who did what, and even in the most simple of things like passion or brand association, for instance, I wrote the Purpose and Dominance book, and I have here the Purpose and Dominance hat. I wouldn't say to myself, because I'm not into the clothing space, I'm gonna have just the basic bucket hat and just write Purpose and Dominance, and then that's it, and I sell it for 2,000 rands. Respect the people of that industry. Yes, it may not be your field of expertise, but when you get there, for people to take you seriously, you need to bring in the effort. effort. Don't disrespect the people who are in clothing and produce the most basic of things. You buy something for 10 rands, you write it tamati, and then you say 2 million, So you need to be at the point where you know who you are dealing with. Your opponents, the people who are there, the giants who are there, the competitors who are there, know what they do and what they lack as well. Oh, okay, when you are producing this, what is it about you that makes you not to have the reach? Oh, this one has caps. Why are his caps not selling? I don't think the marketing is right. He can spend a week not posting about his merchandise, and that is why maybe it's not working. Oh, this one, the problem is, it's too basic, but it's something that I cannot buy as a consumer. I don't see myself buying this because of this and this. You need to do that research before you enter that space, so that once you produce, you would have taken into account what's already in the market, what's already not in the market, and what you are bringing. So when we say closing the gap, it's you being able to produce innovative things or creative things or things of a better standard that are going to address what is not there currently in the market, right? So research. People know the research part and how to research, but they fail to apply the research, So people may know that this one's shirt is not selling because she's not marketing it correctly, or she can go a month without posting that she's selling this. But when you produce your own, you still do the same thing. You've done your research, yes, you know this, but you are unable to apply what you've learned. So research, and know how to apply the research, So that this person's style of questioning in broadcasting, this person's style of questioning lacks this and this and this. I think I should maximize on this and this and this based on what she's lacking, so that I introduce a different element to the style of questioning. But you go there, you repeat the same thing that she's doing, yet you've researched and you know that this person has done this and this and that. You could easily maximize on it, but you are failing to apply your research. So research, and know how to apply your research. Number 4, be very friendly to yourself. There's another man that I look up to that I was so stunned when he replied to my DM. His name is Steve Kompela. He's also in my book. Mr. Steve Kompela says that there's an audio, I'll paraphrase here. There's a video where he says that if there's a pair of shoes that you want and the budget is not allowing you to have that pair of shoes, forget the budget and get the shoe, because the shoe is going to bring you positive energy, positive vibrations. There's so much that is against you. The world is against you. You need that positive energy from that shoe. So forget the shoe and get your positive energy. And that, for me, I found it to be very I found it to be very informative, because I was like, you need to be very friendly with yourself. There are so many things that we are fighting on a daily. Some things are even spiritual. Some things are even, things that we have nothing to do with. Sometimes we are dying for people's mistakes. Sometimes we are suffering for our parents' mistakes or our family's mistakes, but it is what it is, and it's happening. So there's a lot of things that are against you. There are systems against you, and against you may be against you as a woman, against you as a black person, against you as a young person, against you as a white person, against you as everything, against you as the daughter of whoever, against you as, there's so many things and so many people against you. Learn to be very friendly with yourself. Don't add on to the numbers of people who are against you. Don't be the one to belittle yourself. In everything that we do, it's very easy for you to be joining the party and be like, why didn't I do this or do it this way or whatever. Don't be that person. Be the person who says, I'm gonna set a goal like this. If it doesn't go well, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to re-strategize and come back and see how I can better tackle this thing. Look at the mistakes that you've done in the first attempt and then come and correct them. Don't be that person to belittle you. You've got so much potential that the only thing that people can do to you is to speak bad about you. Anything else they can't. They can't match your work ethic. They can't get into the spaces that you are in. They can't do the things that you are doing. So the least they can do is to talk bad about you. Why join them? No, don't join those people. Stay focused. Do what you need to do. Be very friendly to yourself. Be very easy to yourself. Don't beat yourself too hard. Understand, once you have what I spoke about, honest conversations with yourself, your expectations from yourself become realistic. Yes, you will be ambitious and want to induce that element of a beast in you and set the utmost top goals. But even if you don't reach that goal, you understand that you are somewhere there above. Reach for the stars because you aim for the what? Reach for the moon because when you fail, you get to the stars. Something like that. Yeah. I left science, by the way. But you get what I mean. So don't be that person that joins in the party who's gonna boo you, that joins into the party who's gonna belittle you, that joins in. Trust me, you've got so much potential that it scares people. A friend of mine was saying to me that, remember when we were hated in high school? I think we were hated because people then could sense our potential before we could realize it ourselves. And it's so good that we didn't tap into them and follow the team and belittle ourselves and listen to them and do this and do that, but we were able to stand firm and we overcame. And today here we are, so don't be that person. Don't be that person. Yes, you may be disappointed when things don't go according to plan, but don't beat yourself too hard. Be friendly, be very, very friendly with yourself. We are fighting so many issues. There are mental issues that are finishing young people. There are so many things that are not good and young people have to go through and suffer through. Don't be the person to exert more pressure on yourself. Don't be the person to give people more allowance into your space who bring toxic and negative energy. Okay, let me do the last part of the video, and I think my time is up now, but let me do the last part of the video. I'll link them. Yes, I was just saying before this that run your own race at your own pace on your own lane. So don't be the person to join the other team when they are booing you. Don't be the person to maximize the numbers of people who are bringing you negative energy and being very toxic to you, right? So my last is mend important relationships. I've recently come across a quote that said certain people are irreplaceable. So don't be fooled, swallow your pride, go there and mend your relationships. There are certain people who brought things in our lives that are so important, or at that time was so important that they were the only persons to do that. And we are so lucky and fortunate to have had them come through for us at that time. And it is because of that they are irreplaceable in our lives. We value the relationships that we've had with them. But because of whatever miscommunication that may have happened, or whatever thing that may have happened and occurred between the two of you, you are now not in good terms with each other. You are now not in good relations with each other. Learn to talk. Learn to talk things out. Don't act things out and expect people to get the picture. Learn to be the person to say, no, I'm not happy with this and I value you so much. If you really do, if you think the relationship is not worth being lost, talk to the person. I really value this relationship so much. It has taught me 1, 2, 3, and I think it will continue to teach me 1, 2, 3. So for the sake of me and you, can we please sit down and talk? Some relationships are not mended today because people are too prideful not to have a conversation, not to sit down, to be the first to approach the other one to have a conversation. There are certain things that could have been solved by a mere conversation, but there are so many factors involved, pride being one of them, that do not allow that conversation to take place. So relationships which you deem very important, relationships that have taught you so much. If you think it's not yet the time to let go, swallow your pride and go and mend those relationships. Swallow your pride, see your wrongs, acknowledge them, tell them to the people, and tell them how you will do better. Anything to bring back the relationship, and also be honest from post that conversation. Whatever you said you will do it. Whatever you said you've learned, make sure you've learned it indeed. So mend the relationships that you think are important. And I think for me, it's a message I'll continue to stress, and while stressing at it, highlighting the importance of forgiving and not forgetting. I know it's something that all of us want, but you can't be a clown. You know what certain people did to you, and that alone, those experiences alone have revealed what they're capable of. Those experiences alone have shown you a side of them that you never thought existed. So even when you come back to mend your relationship, don't forget those things. Don't turn a blind eye to those things. We are not saying hold them as a grudge, but we are saying don't defy or betray the emotional being in you. The emotional being in you, in a sense that you're gonna act like those things didn't exist. You're gonna act like those things, have a defense mechanism, have an antibody against those things, have a room for those things that they can still happen because they're capable of it. They've done it before, So we are not saying in conversations, bring it back and say, yeah, you've done it before. We are saying to you personally, when you sit yourself down and you think about things, remember that there's a side of them that is like this and it exists. So, and also analyze if, are you able to deal with this side now after forgiving this person, or after seeking forgiveness from this person. This side that existed that you didn't know about, that was the reason why you guys broke up, or you guys broke up. Can you now deal with it, post that incident? Can you now be accommodating of it? Can you now not turn a blind eye to it? You can't go in a relationship and think, it was then, it happened for a reason. You broke up for a reason. Even when you are coming back, don't fade that the reason and pretend it never existed. Don't be a clown. Meaning, don't let the same snake bite you twice. Don't be the reason you are crying again. Don't let them be the reason you are crying for the same reason. Don't let them be the people to make you cry for something you've cried for before, English, but I really hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Don't let them do you bad twice. Have a better way of dealing with it, in a sense that you are expectant of it. You don't shut it out and say, it was a phase. They're capable of it. So be also on the safe side. And in the introduction of the new relationship, perhaps there are certain things which you used to do then, but because of what happened, you cannot do them after. Communicate those things. There are certain things that we used to do together, or we used to expect from each other when we were in the first attempt of the relationship, but now we cannot. And you need to make those things clear. You need to be very honest with that, So I really hope once you go to mend those relationships, you don't forget the things that happened in the past. So forgive, but not forget. Because when you forget, you become a clown, you become a doormat. People do things to you that you could have easily prevented by creating that antibody in your emotional being that's going to fight against those things. So I really hope with everything that I've shared, you've gotten the gist of some of the lessons that have contributed to the person that I am. Being 20, I look forward to, I don't know. I look forward to the fact that there's nothing about being 20 that I know, so the spontaneousness. Yeah, that comes along with it. I look forward to it. But of course, I do have my plan. I do have my 5-year plan. But I'm mostly looking forward to the opportunities that will arise. As I stick to my plan, the opportunities that I look to be opportunistic about, because I call myself a hardworking opportunist. And having done everything in my teenage years, all that I've done in my teenage years, I'm like, what's next? I'm very interested to know what's next. Yes, according to my plan, I know what's next, but I'm interested in knowing those, in grabbing those unexpected, unwritten opportunities, and I'm like, I'm gonna maximize on them. I'm very ready for that, and I'm very ready to hear people say, 20-year-old Karabo Dynamite. I mean, hey, tell me about it. Like the sound of it. 20-year-old Karabo Dynamite. 19-year-old Karabo Dynamite. So now it's gonna be 20-year-old Karabo Dynamite. So I'm a bit excited about that. There's something about 20 to me that says responsibility. Especially because like I said before, you don't want to be cute in doing things. You don't want to be seen like, oh wow, this child is so cute. Oh my God. You want to be taken seriously. You want people to say, okay, fine, let's find solutions. Let's fund you like this. We can help you in this way. How can you come into the party? You need people to have such conversations with you and regard you in a certain way. So for me, I'm looking forward to the responsibility that comes along with that, and that goes to changing, not even changing, but refining at least myself as a woman, as a person as well, as a young person as well, as everything that I am, that refinery that comes along with being 20, that now your approach, baby girl, should be like this and this and this and this, you know. Now when you do this, baby girl, you should be careful of this and this and this and this, because there are certain things you can get away with because people can say, she was just a teenager. But now you don't want that. You want professionalism. You want people to take you seriously when you enter into spaces. So that comes along with the work, that comes along with the work ethic as well, that comes along with the personality, that comes along with character, that comes along with quite a lot of things that you need to take into account. You are really now an adult, hun, you know, so you can't blame your teenage years and your teenage mind. Now you want to step into industries that are gonna have you make legacies and have you break histories, break records, make history, you know, those things. It's a lot, you know. They require you to be willing to get your hands dirty, you know. So it says to me, I'm looking forward to being the icebreaker in conversations with giants in my field, and I'm nervous about it, you know. And I'm like, I'm tasked with such a heavy duty. I'm looking forward to the feeling afterwards, you know, after being able to step into places and in platforms which I've been dreaming about as a teenager. And I was like, in my 20s, I want to do this and this and this. I'm looking forward to the moments after, you know. I'm looking forward to the feeling that I'll get after attaining certain things that I've placed. And I really hope it's the same feeling for everyone. I really hope people get to use their 20s as something that, as a period that's gonna solidify whatever that they chose to be, or whoever that they chose to be, and also not beating themselves too hard. If your 20s for you as once a period where you still need to find yourself, do that, you know. If your 20s for you are a period where you still need to break generational curses, do that, you know. If your 20s for you are waiting to start your businesses, do that. I mean, this is a phase where we can make as much mistakes as possible, as many mistakes as possible, but we make them while we learn. We don't just chill and say, I made a mistake, it's the end of me, you know. We learn. It's a very interesting period, man. It's a very exhilarating period. I'm excited to be 20, y'all. And to all of you right there, we are saying this. Skajesa team, baby. Skajesa team.